joining us now to discuss the status of the BYU offensive coordinator position and what he wants to see in the new OC at BYU. The voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell. Greg, welcome back from Hawaii.
What's up, Greg?
You look fantastic. Refreshed.
Mahalo and aloha.
Yeah. Yes. Mahalo and aloha right back at you.
Spencer got me these macadamia nuts,
He's a true friend.
but he ate half. What do you think of that?
He's a true glutton. Yeah.
So if you want to just eat the other half, go for it.
They're delicious. I couldn't help myself.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Greg. Let's start chronologically with the football news that broke early on Monday morning. What was your reaction to the news about Ty Detmer being relieved of his duties as the BYU offensive coordinator?
It broke while I was sleeping because you know the red eye, right? So I took the red eye Sunday.
Oh, yes, I know well.
Got in Monday morning and right from the airport to my bed, and I was crashed for hours when that whole thing went down. I woke up, hit the phone, and well, there you go. Yeah, that's how that happened.
Surprised by this?
I mean, pragmatically, you can look at the numbers over 2 seasons and say there's justification for the change. And so from a pragmatic standpoint, no. Yeah. From an emotional standpoint, it's hard because it's Ty. But from a pragmatic standpoint, by the numbers, performance-based business, the whole thing, you say, yeah, there's justification for a change.
Our Twitter question today, as we look forward towards whoever the new person is, what characteristics do you want in the next BYU football offensive coordinator?
I guess I probably just want to see someone that's done it, who's been in the booth at a high level before, who's done this before at a P5 level, high FBS level, that's been in battle, in the booth, and done it with some modicum of success historically. It's probably too tough a proving ground, I think, with what BYU aspires to, and with the schedules they have put together. It's probably too difficult of a proving ground or a place to learn, an OC classroom, if you will. It's got to be someone that's kind of more qualified to be the professor than one who's learning as he goes.
Now,
so not a first-time play caller.
I wouldn't. Again, if you're just talking about best case scenario, probably somebody that's done it before at a high level in this setting. Not saying it can't be somebody other than that, but I think if you were to say, what would be preferred next, might be and something to consider someone who's done it before.
Okay, so the idea of a la 2005 when BYU brought in a position coach in Robert and I from Texas Tech, a dynamic offense. Like, would you be okay with something like that?
Again, it's whether I'm okay with it. It's not really. I mean, I just call the games, but
Kalani's going to ask you, and then you're going to decide.
Right. That's how it's someone who's been a quarterback coach, an O-line coach. Does he have a coordinator's mind? Can he? It's all about what he can prove as to the qualifications for the job. I'm not saying it can't be someone who's not done it before. I just think if you were to look at somebody who they might look to next based on what they just had or went through, maybe somebody who's been in the fire before. I don't know.
Yeah, generally, if you've swung left, then you swing right and kind of trying not to avoid the situation you were just in or whatever. We'll see.
But you could stumble upon, the next great offensive mind who just hasn't had the chance to coordinate yet. But his schemes are right, his ideas are right, and he's had enough experience in the business to make it make sense for you. But
yeah, I think you're right. Given everything that's happened, certainly some experience would be new to that position, I guess. Okay, basketball game for BYU tonight at Utah Valley. Never would I think that playing a game with UVU would be this compelling thing, but here we are after last year's game and what Mark Pope has done with some transfers and some former BYU guys at Utah Valley. This is actually kind of an exciting matchup tonight.
Well, it's a tiered game. If you want to go by Ken Pomeroy's tier A, tier B, it's a tiered game. And you only get about a third of your games end up being tiered games at BYU, and this is one of them. And they go back-to-back Tier B games this week. They're both true away games. And whether it's the high number that BPI gives UVU or the more moderate number that Pomeroy, by the way, trust Pomeroy. This is a 50-50 sold-out in-state battle game. It's there's a lot about this game that's compelling. I mean, you have to look no farther than just last year. I mean, the recent history says UVU can get it done against BYU, and they have the confidence because they've done it. And this isn't just it's not just a small school program. This is a D1 program with, more than half the roster right now of active players are D1 transfers, including that guy we just saw right there. I mean, you're talking BYU transfers, Oklahoma transfers, Utah transfer. It's a heavy D1 transfer roster. It's upperclassmen. It's all upperclassmen. These are guys who've been around. They think if you were to take Calvert, Nielsen, Toulson, they'd be, I think, 5, 6, and 7, or 6, 7, and 8 on BYU's roster right now in terms of games played for BYU. So UVU has a bunch of guys who played more games for BYU than BYU players have played for BYU. So, this is an experienced group. And, I tweeted out the Pomeroy number that Coach Rose referenced last night on our show. Just from the pure experience standpoint, UVU's, top 20 in the nation in experience, and BYU's bottom 50 in the nation in experience, guys who've been around and played at the high level before. So UVU has a lot of reasons to feel good about its chances playing at home in a sold-out environment, having just beaten BYU. Yeah, it's a compelling game. Absolutely.
Utah Valley's only 2 losses were during the toughest 24 at Kentucky. They had a lead in that game.
9-point lead at halftime.
And at Duke. Everybody loses to Duke. They're the #1 team in America.
Had a first half lead kind of midway through, played well. I thought in the first half things got away from them. But, 2 really good showings.
So they have seen the #1 team in the country and what they bring. What kind of team do you think will show up against BYU tonight?
Well, it's going to be a slower team than we saw last year. Was 114 to 101, and both BYU and UVU ended up top 20 in tempo and shortest average possession length. Both numbers for both teams are way down this year. Both have really dialed it back. So we're not going to see 114-101. We just will not see that kind of game again. UVU is much more focused on getting it inside to Manyang, throwing it up, and going to get it. Great offensive rebounding team right now, and a lot of what they get is on second chance points. So they're not. You look at last year's game, you go 114 points, 18 threes. It's just a bombs-away three-centric team. But last year's game was not the norm. They didn't get close to 18 threes in any of their other games. They didn't get close to 49% from 3 in any of their other games. That was a true outlier last year. Now, they were fast and they were up-tempo, but they and BYU were both dialed way back this year. So a different-looking team, and it's all about getting it inside to their bigs, and then kind of like a la San Diego State of those games in past, throw it up, go get it. And that's really what they excel at. I look at Jake Toolson as an indicator of maybe the change. Jake at BYU, a great percentage of his shots were threes, and he was kind of seen as a three-point specialist. Well, a much higher percentage now are driving to the rim, 2-point attempts. He takes very few threes and is not shooting a good number from 3. I just use him as an example of where this team is right now. Again, you look at last year, go, oh, that just bombs away. It's not really who they are.
How would you describe this game? Because you have former BYU assistant Mark Pope, you have Jake Toolson, you have Isaac Nielsen, you have Corey Calvert.
Got Cody Feger.
You have Cody Feger on the staff.
You can't leave Cody Feger off the list.
You have disappointing, 7 million Mormons or whatever, Chris Burgess and the whole thing with Roger Reed. Like, the dynamic here is really interesting. How would you describe the dynamic between these two schools?
Fraternal. Yeah. It's just, there won't be two programs that are that close to each other geographically and philosophically and personnel-wise as you're going to see anywhere in the country. So there's so many common ties, and there's no real enmity or animosity, but there's a real fraternity that is intense as two brothers would battle. And again, Coach Rose and Coach Pope have a great relationship, as they do with the guys who left and Feegs and everything else. So it's just it's a fun game to play. I just hope it's a fun outcome for BYU fans tonight.
What is a hoop stat that matters going into tonight's game between BYU and Utah Valley?
Well, I've always said, and when you go to the NCAA tournament, for example, the first thing I would look at when BYU gets its draw was what kind of team are you playing, a la have they made more free throws than their opponents have attempted? It's one of the first ones I look to, because that kind of team is tough, where they can generate their offense from the free throw line to such an extent that they make more than you take. Those are tough teams to play. Well, guess what? BYU is that team right now. BYU is making more than the opponents are taking and is making more than UVU has attempted this year. So BYU is very free throw driven, but it's not just the number of free throws, the number of takes or makes, it's who's getting to the line. And this is really key. So BYU takes, in its wins, 26.5 free throws per game. In its losses, 21.5. So there's a difference of 5. Okay, that's a moderate difference, but it's not overwhelming. More in wins than losses, not surprising. But the top 3 free throw shooters are who? Elijah Bryant, TJ Haas, Jashir Hardnett. Okay, in BYU's wins, they're taking 14.5 free throws per game. Okay. In their losses, 5.5.
Got to be aggressive.
There you go.
Okay, so when the right guys are getting to the free throw line, BYU's in good shape. When those guards are getting to the stripe, BYU's in really good shape. When they don't get to the line, BYU's going to struggle. And that has been the story so far. Again, we're early. It's only 6 games, small sample size. But it's pretty clear already when those 3 guys, when your guards are getting to the line, and they're going to make, because they've got, whether winning or losing, they're shooting between 86 and 90% when they get there. So those 3 guys you can count on, but can you count on them to get there consistently? When they do, BYU's in good shape.
9 Eastern, 7 Mountain. BYU
sold-out gym
at Utah Valley at the sold-out UCCU Center. It seats 8,500, first time ever. The Cougars and Wolverines going to line it up.
Dave Rose thought that one of the sellouts historically might have been when his Dixie team came in and played Utah Valley back in the day.
Interesting.
That's what he said, last night.
So Dave Rose shows up, there's a sellout. That's how it works. Let's finish with a cool thing about Canada.
Okay.
Hit it!
It's not really something you go hit it to, though, is it? It's serene and regal. So Canada, known for its winter sports, the curling, the hockey. But did you know that the oldest golf club in North America is located in Canada?
Oh.
The Royal Montreal Golf Club, founded in 1873, is the oldest continuous existing golf club in North America. Of course, America's, it's like the world home of golf down here, right? We golf, crazy amounts of golf down here in the States. But it is the Royal Montreal Golf Club that is the oldest golf club in North America. And it says on their website, "We are the oldest golf club in North America, and our members still proudly toast Queen Victoria for designating us as a royal club on July 7th, 1884. This was 11 years after it was founded. We are one of only 66 bona fide royal designated clubs in the world." And this sounds really nice. In 1873, a small group of 8 gentlemen sat in a dockside office and formed the Montreal Golf Clubs. There you go.
Boom!
I want to hear the rest of the anthem.
Yeah, just let it soak in. Hey, I covered the Canadian tour
Nice.
while I was working in Palm Springs. They would make a few visits to North America.
Why were they playing in our country?
Well, they got to get ready for the PGA Tour. Adam Hadwin is
Just
one that
just
won a
checking.
tournament I covered.
Like
He's
they
on the
couldn't play in
PGA
Canada?
Tour.
By the way,
They
Royal
go to
Montreal
Palm
Golf Club, our own Mike Weir knows it well.
Oh, Mike Weir,
He
yeah.
beat Tiger Woods in a President's Cup match at the Royal Montreal Golf Club back in 2007.
That was the most interesting thing.
And by the
out of
way,
that whole part.
Royal
And you
Montreal
said
Golf
it
Club,
last.
Royal Montreal Golf Club was also the site of Tiger Woods' first missed cut as a pro. There you go.
Why'd you save
Bonus-
those two to
bonus
the last?
facts.
Those are great. I love them. That's fantastic.
Yeah, avoid, if you're Tiger Woods, avoid the Royal Montreal.
And avoid Mike Weir.
He's avoided
Yes.
the course generally speaking.
Weir is a great Canadian.
Listen to Greg tonight, 9 Eastern, 7 Mountain on BYU Radio. You can watch
Yeah,
the game
yeah,
between
do that.
BYU and Utah Valley on BYUtv. Thanks, Greg.
Hey, no, thank you. We'll see you next Wednesday at this very same time.
We'll see you tonight.
Absolutely.
Let's
We'll
party
see you tonight, too. Yeah,
in
good
Orem.
point.
I love partying in Orem. It's my favorite place to party.